once again, everybody, that was Fletcher C. Johnson with the song Messing Up My Mind. Discovered that song on the wonderful show Mark Marin. Guy also has a podcast called WTF, if you're not familiar with it. And he tends to talk to celebrities, and I don't know how I feel about celebrities, to be honest with you, but the guy's insights, his opinions, his perspectives on the world, I find very similar to my own. Therefore, I relate to much of what the man says, so I enjoy listening to him. That being said, this is Hexes and Soldiers, episode number 40. Been a while, huh? Actually, it's been about 5 months, and haven't been sitting idle. Been doing things by way of game design, publishing, advertising, the whole 9 yards. It's a lot of work, but it's all very gratifying. I'm glad I started it and got a long way to go yet as far as goals and things of that nature. Of course, Ostfront, the newest H&S game, being worked on as we speak and coming along nicely. Don't mean to jinx myself. We'll see how it goes. I guess I could announce a prospective release date of Christmas. I think that would be safe to say. And if we have to push it back, well, we'll just push it back. Might also add that having trouble with this Audacity recording program. Not sure what the deal is. I won't go into it, but suffice to say, it has made things more complicated and challenging when it comes to things of the podcast nature. And as we all know or may have forgotten, yours truly is not that tech savvy. So cross your fingers and we'll see how it goes. This could actually be a rough ride. So what's been going on? Let's see. Let's see if I remember how to do this. First of all, 5 months. Wow. Okay. Shout outs. I'm going to give a shout out to all the subscribers here on YouTube that has hung in there and listened to the show, spread the word, shared episodes, given feedback. I'll also give a shout out to everybody that supported H&S Games and the Platoon Leader game system, as well as everybody that has taken the time to read blogs and click likes on Hexes and Soldiers Facebook page, as well as H&S Games Facebook page. All of that is greatly appreciated, and it really makes everything that I do worthwhile and rewarding. I know I can't please everybody all the time, but I'll do my best. And so, yeah, thanks a lot, really, everybody. It means a lot. As I mentioned, it has been 5 months since the last episode, and I guess I don't like to rush things, so took my time getting to the next one. I will get into what this particular episode is about soon enough, but would also like to throw out an apology. You know, this has been an ongoing thing. Um, Request many months ago from Mr. Anthony Salvaggio to please do a Waterloo episode, and for the love of God, I still plan on doing it. Just don't know when, but it will happen. Hopefully, before both of us are underground, but do plan on doing that. And what else? Summertime in the old Nolans or New Orleans. You know, actually, people say Nolans, but I've decided that there's a Y in Nolans so that it would be New Orleans. Nevertheless, yeah, summertime here in New Orleans. Can't wait for the heat. That should be awesome. And having come from the north, you know, it gets hot up in St. Louis and surrounding area, but I'm telling you, the heat down here is a whole new ball of wax. It's hard to describe. It can just be awful. So greatly looking forward to that. And speaking of heat, I might add that New Orleans did have a war game convention here annually at the World War II History Museum. I was able to attend for the first and what would be apparently my last time last year. They're not having it this year. I'm not sure why. I guess you could attribute that to low attendance or perhaps the grand old World War II History Museum has other things in mind. Who's to say? But I discovered that yeah, that they won't be having it this year. In fact, they may not be having it again. And wouldn't that figure? Just about the time I get down here, the thing goes away. So I guess I'm a jinx on that. Speaking of conventions, all is not lost. You have, let's see, what do we have? Consum World Expo coming up, and you also have a World Board Gaming Championships in August. So I think Consum World Expo's a tad smaller than World Board Gaming Championships, and I also believe one is in the West and one is in the East. That would be World Board Gaming Championships in Pennsylvania, and I think Consum World in Arizona. I've yet to attend either one. Would love to do so, but financially speaking, I'm impotent. I got nothing, so most likely will not be attending those unless I knock off a Brinks truck or something like that. um, but yeah, I've heard good things about both of them, and as I said, I think Consum World Expo is a bit smaller. That's not to say it is any less grandiose in the experience. Um, World Board Gaming Championships a bit more competition driven. Entries into contests to see who can be crowned Caesar, which is the highest title you can get as a contestant, an enrolled playing contestant at this convention. But both of them, either of them, should be fun. So if you guys are looking for a convention, there you go. What else? Um, won't go too much into HNS games or game design, other than, as I said, things are going rather smoothly so far. There are some days I think, this is just too overwhelming. It's too much. And then there's other days where I think, wow, this is awesome. Things are going great. Ups and downs and in betweens. So steady as she goes, and it's important to always remember to bite off little chewable pieces at a time. If you try and shove the whole thing down your throat, well, you're going to choke and probably die. And I'm referring to everything in general when it comes to running a business, filling orders, advertising, designing, developing. The help that I am receiving is minimal, but I am receiving help, and that is appreciated. So won't go in too much to that. There's other formats and times for that. I'm going to dedicate this show specifically to other things, war games, of course, but other things. And I guess I just need a break from game design and developing. You can burn yourself out and don't want to do that. So I guess the best way to distract yourself from wargaming is to wargame. So I've taken a different avenue and decided to share a new Hexes and Soldiers Wargame podcast episode with you guys. Now, what does that mean? Well, as far as this episode goes, this entails something that I've wanted to do for quite some time, just never got around to doing it. I might add also that this show, you'd be best to follow along visually and watch, because there are going to be things flashing across the screen that will help describe what I'm talking about. And what I'm getting at is box art, the art of wargaming art, if you will. And a ton of it out there covers all types, some good, some bad. We'll be getting onto a big part of that here shortly. But before I do so, let me just finish up with a couple other things. What else? I'd like to say hats off to MMP. They catch a lot of flack for not pumping things out probably quite as regularly as they should, or as people might want them to. Um, and I guess when you compare them to somebody like GMT, they look like a snail. But I have to say, having released Hakapale, uh, which was wonderful. It goes without saying, it's been a long time coming, and that is greatly appreciated. Thanks, guys. But also on the heels of that, Beyond the Rhine. So, hey, MMP steamrolling along and releasing stuff, and how about that? So, hats off to MMP. These releases are greatly appreciated, and we look forward to future releases. Um, so, yeah, thanks, MMP. And then, I guess by way of wargaming in my world, um, have long been a uh, a non-player of anything Avalanche Press, and well, that's finally going to change. Talked about this briefly in a blog. I'll just gloss over it again for a second here. Talking about Casino 44, and a couple of reasons I decided to order this thing. One, the price was right. Two, it deals with a topic that I think is not dealt with enough, and that is the Battle of Monte Cassino. Really, only one game that I'm aware of, and that is Avalon Hills Thunder Casino, that is worth playing. That treats this with the attention, detail, and respect that it deserves. But there is this Casino 44 game by Avalanche Press, and I find myself coming back to it time and time again, and forgetting about it, and I finally decided, hey, it's time. The map is gorgeous. Big fan of gorgeous maps, and it is. It's a thing to behold. But also, as I said, the price was right. And I read a review on Board Game Geek, and the review was very intriguing. The guy, he didn't laud it as the greatest thing since sliced bread or anything like that. It was a very even-handed review. But that also helped me decide to go ahead and get this thing. So, long story short, this thing is on its way. Should be here sometime early to mid next week. And I'll pop the box top on that and see what we got. And that will officially begin my introduction to the Panzer Grenadier system. So I've heard a lot of things about it, some bad, some good. I'll decide for myself what I think, and I know some of you are probably going to go. If you're just getting into the Panzer Grenadier system, this is probably not the game to start with. Hey, have faith. I think I'll be okay. And as I said, we'll see how it goes. So that is that, and that brings us to the meat of the matter. Actually, no, it doesn't. Let me back up. I think I'll do an old-fashioned. I haven't done this in I don't know how long before I get to the meat of the matter, which is box art. I'm gonna do an old school top 10 review, see where we are at these days, and you know what? Don't hold your breath because I don't expect much if anything has changed. But we'll start at number 10, work our way up, end at number 1. Number 10, Virgin Queen, came out in 2012. And I do not own this game. I have not played it. In fact, I know little to nothing about it. GMT Games, this would be designed by Ed Beach. And top 10, it's the number 10 war game. So I don't know. I guess that speaks for itself. I think I'll take a pass on it personally. Just not my cup of tea. Number 9, Napoleon's Triumph. Hey, hey. Now that makes me happy. A fantastic game, and I've gone on and on and on about this in the past. I will refrain from doing so yet again. Suffice to say, Bowen Simmons' game that came out in 2007 is an innovation in war game mechanics and application. A beautiful game to look at and play, and for the love of Pete, if you haven't picked this thing up yet, and you are still sitting on the fence and waiting, there's no point. Grab it while you can. Obviously, it's already out of print, but it's not going to get cheaper as days go on and price is just going to keep going up. Grab it, play it, love it. That's number 9. Number 8, Hannibal, Rome versus Carthage. I used to own this game, and I meant to play it, but before I could, I sold it, so that was the end of that. A lot of fans of this game. Of course, this goes back. I think Avalon Hill originally released this, and then in 1996 another company released it. But that is Hannibal Rome versus Carthage, number 8, and a lot more Ancients fans out there than I thought. I'm not necessarily one of them. There's just something about it that is lacking for me. I haven't quite put my finger on it yet. Um, I'll watch the occasional documentary when it comes to that stuff, but as far as sitting down and playing a campaign game that deals with ancients, I'm not the one. So, number seven, Sekigahara, Unification of Japan. Another GMT game came out in 2011. It deals with samurai shogun era, and I do own this game, and it is a block war game. For those of you who are fans of block war games, well, you do good to pick it up because it is a fun thing to play. Number six, Combat Commander Europe, another game I own. This game has probably more fans than anything these days. Tons of expansions. You've got the Pacific Theater as well. People can't get enough of Combat Commander Europe, card driven game. I'm not the biggest fan of card driven anything unless it's up front, but Combat Commander Europe, I have to say, it holds its own. It deserves an adequate amount of respect. When it comes to something like that, though, I just as soon play ASL. So that's Combat Commander Europe, number six. Number five, Here I Stand, came out in 2006. I do not own this game. Never played this game. Designed by Ed Beach, another GMT game. And what you're dealing with here is 1517 to 1555. Some religious wars stuff. Yeah, I think I'll pass on that as well. For those of you that have played it and enjoyed it, well, good for you. Pass the word along. But again, I think I'll spend my time on other things. And then number four, D-Day at Omaha Beach. I've been beaten over the head with how great this thing is. In fact, I finally uh, acquired a copy via my dear brother. Read through the rules, set it up, and that was it. Never played it. Not because I didn't like it. In fact, I don't remember what happened, but before I knew it, the thing was back in the box and on the shelf. I intend to bring it back out at some point and give it a go. I've moaned and carried on about the map, which is just confusing to look at. I know everything makes sense once you learn it, but aesthetically, my lord, couldn't they have done this any different? Enough of that. Number three, Combat Commander Pacific. Really? Is it because it's newer? I don't know. People like the Pacific theater more than European. Maybe people are getting burned out in the European theater. Everything's European theater, movies, books, games. I suppose it's possible, but Pacific theater, I have a healthy appreciation for it, but I prefer European theater still. So, nevertheless, Combat Commander Pacific, that came out 2 years after Combat Commander Europe. But that's number three, in case you were wondering. And number two, Paths of Glory, 1999, this thing came out. And I don't know that it deserves to be number two, but it's a decent game. Another GMT game designed by Ted Risser and a recipient of a number of awards. So this was the 1999 Charles S. Roberts Best Pre-World War II Board Game. Deals with World War One, if you didn't know. And Best Wargame Graphics, let's see, nominee. 2000 International Gamers Awards, Historical Simulation. Um, Decent game. If you're into World War One, you could probably do worse. But that is Paths of Glory, number two. And then number one, Twilight Struggle. And wow, still number one. Best war game ever. Twilight Struggle. Came out in 2005 and will probably never go away. Twilight Struggle, yay. Alright, so that's your top 10. And I haven't done one of those in a while. And as I predicted, little to nothing has changed regarding that list other than I guess D-Day at Omaha Beach has worked its way up. It's interesting that Combat Commander Pacific is inching its way up. And Napoleon's Triumph on there, that's fantastic. And Advanced Squad Leader, number 14. Come on, guys, get on Board Game Geek, vote. Move this thing up. It should be in the top 10. No excuse for ASL not to break through into the top 10. And then up front, number 16, Fire in the Lake moving its way up as well. It's already number 17. Now, how is that possible? The thing just came out, and it has surpassed all these other games to make its way to number 17. It's that good. Speaking of Fire in the Lake, I've made another underhanded attempt to pull my brother from the clutches of PC gaming. On his birthday, I had this sent to his doorstep, and much to his surprise, he opened the box and found a quote big Vietnam game, and big Vietnam game it is. Um, I haven't asked him yet if he's opened it or played it or read the rules. I'm going to give him some time. I don't want to pressure the man, but I'm curious to see what his opinion of it is. So that's that. And that, of course, does bring us to the meat of the matter, which deals with box art, specifically World War II box art. And I have yet to decide how I'm going to match the audio up to the visuals. That should be fun and time consuming. Never you fear, though. I am the one that will be dealing with the legwork there. So I'm going to start somewhat chronologically, at least for the most part, and hope to show an evolution or development in the progression of graphic art when it comes to wargame box art. These are the images that we have all come to know and love and associate with the components inside. This is the stuff that you see. It's the first thing you see when you acquire a game. And they say don't judge a book by its cover, but hey, we're all human. We all do it. And box art has its place. It has its function, and in my opinion, it's a very important aspect of the game package. I've said this before. If the art looks crappy and they just rushed through it or didn't spend enough time on it, to me that shows that what else did they not spend enough time on and rush through? But anyway, let's get right down to it, and we'll start with SPI. And I'll call SPI the Monet of the wargaming industry, at least in the early days. They've got these color periods, solid colors. I'm sure it has something to do with printing costs. The more colors you want to use in a print, the higher the cost goes up, the more complicated. I understand all that. I get it. But for a while there, they very big fan of one solid color. As you'll notice with the first image, Turning Point, the Battle of Stalingrad. And this game has somewhat of a, I guess, turquoise, you could call it, bluish tint to the cover. Came out in 1972, and I'm going to try and do this as speedily as I can. I'm pulling up information as I go, but yeah, came out in 1972, about a year before I was born. SPI, of course. The artist is Redmond Simonson. Designer was Jim Dunnigan and John Young, and pretty simple in its design, as most of these you'll notice will be. It looks like they just took a picture, an old war photo, and just tinted it. And there was their image. And if you'll notice in the small print on the top, the SPI had this great little shtick of putting the time and the date, and I don't know, it adds to the dramatics of the game. The time is, I think it was always 0600 hours, 19th of November, 1942. I always like that. And that brings us to the next image. The Ardennes Offensive, Battle of the Bulge, December 1944. Kind of a light blue cover this time. And this came out, let's see, when did this come out? Of course, this is also an SPI game. In 1973, this thing was released, the year I was born. Um, Redmond Simonson again as the artist, and Jim Dunnigan. Uh, Again, same style, basic stuff, just a light blue tint this time. Um, get an old historical photo of some krauts, tinted blue. There's your cover. They didn't. I don't know that they spent a lot of time on the covers of these things for, like I said, for financial reasons or for a lack of, I don't know, an ability, technological ability. Surely they had the means to do something a little more elaborate than this, but this is nevertheless, the style they chose. That brings us to El Alamein. Again, same thing. This would be a what do you call this? I don't know. Copper color. Um, El Alamein came out. When did this come out? El Alamein came out in, let's see here, 1973 as well. So that came out in the same year. Um, yeah, same style again. So nothing different there. And then Drive on Stalingrad again, the same thing. Drive on Stalingrad. I guess this would be, you could call this SPI's red period, as there's a reddish color. I don't know if they rolled a die to decide what colors to do for their games or what, or if that was the surplus of ink they just happened to have on hand. Came out in 1977. Drive on Stalingrad did, flat tray edition, and a lot of these games didn't used to be released in cardboard boxes. For those of you that don't know, most of them in the early days were released in what was called a tray. Plastic trays with a clear plastic cover and a big cover sleeve, and then the back was, or the bottom part was another black plastic tray with little counter holders embedded in the plastic mold. That's the way most of these things were released, and they're fairly big, relatively thin and flat, but relatively big, and no easy or fun way to store these on the shelf. Um, but that's how most of these things were released prior to the box. I'm not sure what changed or why. Again, probably something to do with cost. But that's how these things were released. In Waktam Rhine, um, a game that fetches a lot of money these days, at least for the old original version. I guess this would be What Can Brown Do For You version. Waktam Rhine. When did this come out? Let me check on that. I'm going to say 70 something. I'm going to guess 70, 78. I'm going to guess 78. This came out in, well, that version came out in 77. So I was a year off. This came out in 77 and was released as a flat tray edition, but it was released the same year in a box. So I guess they're starting to get close to the box stuff. Panzer Group Guderian. Gone are the color themed stuff. I guess you could argue there's still somewhat of a single base color, but the images are just stock black and white images now. They didn't try and color these or soup them up in any way. Panzer Group Guderian has many incarnations. A game that started heralded its own system. So Panzer Group Guderian, what we got here? We've got, let's see, particular version I have on display for you came out in 76. Looks like there was one, two, three, four, five versions of this thing, with the final one coming out by Avalon Hill in '84. So that's interesting. But yeah, just two stock black and white images, not colorized. Which brings us to the next one, Winter War. I was always a fan of this particular box art. It's somewhat ominous and mysterious. It makes me want to know more about this soldier for some reason. I don't know if you can tell or not. He's got his face covered up, I presume due to the cold or the wind. Out there by himself, picking off Russians and saving Finland. So, and again, you got the little blurb at the top. The time is, what do you guess? Oh, 600 hours. So a lot of most wars start at 0600 hours, and if they're late, do they have to wait to the next day for the next? And anyway, I digress. Winter War. Again, you could argue, yeah, is there still printing with a singular color? Um, I like the white and blue, and I like the image. There's a similar image we'll get to later with a singular soldier on the cover, and harkens back to kind of an existential, solipsistic individual type thing. Um, kind of a lonely feel to it. I don't know, something about it. As I said, kind of ominous and mysterious. That brings us to Arnhem, Operation Market Garden. Again, just slap a stock image on the cover and a title on the top, and there you go. And can't tell if the time is the same. I think the time's actually different for this one. Anyway, Operation Market Garden, Arnhem, and just a stock image. That brings us to a Bridge Too Far, Arnhem. This is the designer's edition of the what I just showed you, and the top part of this box art is taken from the movie A Bridge Too Far. I guess there was no copyright laws involved with this. Bottom three images. Um, can't tell if those are. I think those are action. Those might be from the wars, the movie as well. Uh, but this is by far one of the most interesting and, for at least for SPI, elaborate covers to be released, and very pleasing to the eye. A lot going on. Um, Numerous colors involved. We got at least one, two, three, four, and then the black and white images. So looks like SPI spared no expense, at least for them, when it came to this particular game. Pulled out all the stops, and I have this game and played it, and it's a fun game to play. Battle for Stalingrad, John Hill, rest in peace. Again, take a black and white image, slap it on there, throw a title at the top. There's your game. Just be sure the image that you put on there is somewhat intriguing, and I think this qualifies. It at least lets you know exactly what you're in store for. Some difficult street fighting, rubble, etc. Stalingrad. That image signifies, at least for me, Stalingrad in a nutshell. And that's what you're looking at. So that is still SPI. That brings us to the Battle of Moscow. Nothing much changed here. Again, slap an image on there and you're good to go. What else? Operation Typhoon. I think a bit of a risk here. Um, just the sheer silhouette that is going on with this is interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about all the black, but nevertheless, it is somewhat interesting. I don't really know what else to say about it. I have this game and I've played it, and is fun as well. Definitely somewhat of a left turn from the other stuff. I'll leave it at that. War in the Pacific. I guess this is similar to Operation Typhoon. Just we're going to take up an entire box front with the image, and I like the idea. In fact, this is the heralding of the what you would call detergent or soap boxes, so named because they were about as big as laundry detergent boxes. These things were deep, big, hulking things, and when you got a game that came in this, you definitely felt like you got your money's worth. I'm not sure that they actually needed to be this big, the boxes, but pretty intimidating when I guess when you pick this thing up as you're getting ready to buy it. This somewhat reminds me of a if there was going to be a movie called War in the Pacific, it would look something like this. But I don't have a problem with it. It looks decent, and the time is 07:56. Wow, okay. So that's War in the Pacific, and that is also, as I said, a detergent box, and that brings us to a little excursus here. War in the East. Something you don't typically see, at least during this era, and this would be just your abstract symbol design. You've got the Russian star and the German cross arranged in the way that could be construed as sexually explicit, but I won't go there. War in the East could be sized up with its companion, War in the West, and played if you were completely insane. Uh, but again, yeah, this is a stark contrast to what we're used to. No black and white stock photo images. Um, more than one base color, so that was a bit of a risk, I think, for them as well. But I'm glad they took it because it's interesting as well. Atlantic Wall, another detergent box game with a big, huge gun jutting almost out of the box in your face. Um, I believe this is a stock image that they just covered. I don't know that this is any type of artwork per se. Again, that almost reminds me of like a movie cover, the style of it. And then the campaign, the notorious campaign for North Africa. I wonder how many people could probably count on both hands have actually played the full campaign game for this from start to finish. Those of that have started back in when was this released? Campaign for North Africa. I can't hear you. You guys aren't speaking up. Campaign for North Africa was released 1979. Well, guess what? Whoever started it then is probably still playing it now. And again, just take a stock image, slap it on the cover. You got Rommel there, looking ever so regal, with an adjutant behind him, and what looks like something that shouldn't run in the desert. I don't know, what is that? A Studebaker or something? That's a joke. Anyway, um, campaign for North Africa. Probably, as far as gameplay goes, too much of a good thing, or too much of everything. It was just completely nuts as far as the detail involved with this. But hey, to each their own, and I'm sure there are people out there who not only desire but require that level of detail. And as I said, to each their own. Highway to the Reich, again, looks like a movie cover, a movie poster. Let's take a stock image, slap it on the cover. That brings us to France 1940. And this was also released as a strategy and tactics game. But here you start seeing an overlay of various images, almost a montage or collage, if you will, of things. Again, Mr. Rommel looking to the right, and that famed stick grenade throwing German who you see in just about anything and everything. Um, got tank Stukas, a little bit of everything going on there, and it works. I like it. No problems for me. That brings us to the Wargamer magazine, Sturm nach Osten. They just said, hell with it. We're going to use a straight German title. Don't care if you know what it means. Don't care if you can pronounce it. This is what we're doing, and don't care what you think. Blue is the color they drew straws on, and looks like they actually did some artwork here. It just doesn't look like it's just a stock image they slapped the blue over. Looks like somebody put pen to pad or pencil to pad and drew this up. Not bad. Sturm nach Osten. Sticking with that theme, you've got Drang nach Osten. And I almost can guarantee you somebody took some tracing paper and put it over what is a stock image of this photo as a historical photo and just traced and said, there's your game box art. Put this thing, says Drang nach Osten across it, and that's that. There's expansion for this that is the same art. I think it's called unintentionally or something to that effect. Still sticking with the German name thing. That didn't last too long. Only a few games really did that, but it was an interesting avenue to take. Fire in the East, another foray into the abstract. Of course, just a map image with the area that is dealt with highlighted in a yellow and over a square grid. I have to say, this is probably one of the less enjoyable to look at game covers. The game itself is cool. I have it. I've played it. Slugfest takes a long time to play, but for its time was a hell of a thing. And But yeah, as far as the box art goes, my lord, I'm not really sure what they're. I know there's a theme that goes along with this. There's a lot of games in this series, and all of them are the same nature. A map with the particular area of interest highlighted. I understand what they're doing, but I think they could have gone about it differently. I don't know that they were going for mass market sales here, but that's what they chose. And one of my least favorite box art covers, White Death, Valiki Luki, the Stalingrad of the North. Look at this thing. It's got like a comic book feel to it, and that's not a bad thing. Again, I'll hazard a guess that they somehow traced, maybe using an overhead projector, the art for this. Um, it's hard to say. Maybe not. What's this? Roger B. McGowan. Is this you, Roger? I think it is. But I like it. I like the art, and it's simple, but it works. I like it better than just a map and a square hex grid, that's for sure. Core Sun Pocket, the loved, the hated um, People's War Games, and the guy that designed this, his name escapes me right now. But I remember a podcast I did. I'll look this up while I'm talking, see if I can do two things at once. I remember a podcast I did a while back, and I've yet to address this till now because I didn't know how to. I thought the best way to do it would just be to ignore it. But yeah, I did a podcast on this a while ago, and Jack Rady is the designer. And I read kind of an old interview. Some of you may remember. But after a week or two of that show, a guy put a message on and said something to the effect that I can't believe he would give Jack Rady the time of day. He's a more or less like a communist, and People's War Games is needs to just go away, and he can shove it and all that stuff. And everybody's entitled to their own opinion. I guess I found that more entertaining than anything, that somebody could be that upset by a game and the designer based on his alleged or self-professed ideological viewpoints. I'm not going to hate on anybody for what they believe just because it differs from what I believe. Nevertheless, back to the box art at hand, and watch this guy, if he's watching, will probably chime in again. So I look forward to hearing from him. But hey, I don't have a problem with Jack Rady. I like Corson Pocket. Thing looks interesting, and I like the box art. So you know, what else is there? Um, that's Corson Pocket, and again, a lot going on with the cover. And you got Roger B. McGowan there with his initials in a diamond. And big fan of Roger. He's been around for a while. He's done a lot of stuff, more than I can count, and he's still going strong. So hats off to him. He's one of my two favorite war game designers as far as the art. I'll get to the other in a second, but that is Corson Pocket, and that's another big box game. When you get this thing, again, it's a sizable box, and that I guess what my point is it makes the artwork stand out that much more because of its sheer size. But I like the choice of red and white, and you don't often see a Russian soldier portrayed over that much of the box or the art. Usually, it's German stuff, American stuff. Um, Again, at the time of this release, I would hazard that this was a completely, how do I put it, a new way of portraying a battle, especially anything to do with the Russians, by slapping a big Russian face on the cover. But hey, I like it. So that's that. 88 is the next image. And I'm not sure how I feel about this. I guess I like it. It looks a little too clean. The artwork is, at least there is artwork. Instead of just slapping in a stock photo on the cover, which is, I guess, a knock on myself. But anyway, 88. And I think is this Yoquinto Games? Do any of you remember Yoquinto Games? They had a few games. Which brings me to something else that I James Day. Now he's is a guy that did this. It came out in 1980, and yeah, Roger B. McGowan. Sorry, Roger. I'm not sure how I feel about this one. Maybe it's the colors. I don't know. There's something about it isn't doing it for me. Anyway, James Day, and you can catch a really cool interview with this guy. I'm sure probably in more place than one, but most recently I caught an interview with him on I've Been Diced, and this is another war game podcast that I've found, and actually I've known about it for a while, but I actually decided to try and listen, and glad I did. They do a good job. They interviewed James Day, and um, he's done a number of things. He also did Israeli Defense Force main battle tank, which is going to be redone by GMT. At least that's the word on the street. Anybody have any updates on that? And Panzer, the guy that did Panzer. Well, this is him, and it's his game. So Yo Quinto, he tells a story that I'm probably going to get this all wrong and screwed up, but something to the effect that the chick that he was dating and ended up marrying or something, her father or stepfather owned Yo Quinto Publishing, which was they published books, and he was already involved in war game stuff, but one way or another was able to convince them to start producing war games, and thus Yo Quinto War Games. So there's your story. Probably not as interesting as you thought it would be, but that's 88, and I think it's the colors that don't do it for me. Uh, I don't know. I maybe it'd look better if they were in the middle of some action. Something's missing. Anyway, that brings us to Trial of Strength, and I threw this on here. This is Panther Panther Games. This is a game, East Front game, strategic, covers the whole Russian invasion. I've come close to getting this thing. I may yet do so, but there's so many games and only so much money. I put this on here primarily because the image that you see at the top is used quite a bit in a number of things. This being one of them, but that is a common thing as well. Another image that I failed to include in this list um, is used 3 or 4 times in a couple of games. It's just the same image, and nobody even tried to change it or anything. But I guess popularity dictates taste from time to time, and again, this is an image that was used quite a bit at one time. I don't know that it is now. I imagine a lot of these things, you stick an image like this on a game, it's just so tired, you know. I'm not sure you'd be doing yourself a favor. That brings us to Blitzkrieg Avalon Hill game, and this should be our foray into the Avalon Hill Games box cover art work. And the purple, I don't get the purple. I don't know why the purple, but this isn't the only game to be to suffer the fate of purple. And we'll get to Squad Leader in a second, but that game in its original incarnation was purple as well. I don't know. It's an interesting choice. I'm sure there was a reason for it. I at a loss as to what that would be. But purple's what they used, and I like the cover. To be honest with you, I think it's pretty decent. That's Blitzkrieg Avalon Hill. Very early days of Avalon Hill. The Longest Day, kind of a throwback to the one color schematic, but when you look at the artwork, it is artwork, and I like it a lot. It works for me. Some left to right movement going up a hill there as they assault the beach. I have this game. It is a monster game, one of the first uh, decent monster games worth playing. Now, of course, there was Fire in the East and War in the East, but those things are more how do you put it? Slugfests. You're just moving a bunch of counters around. This you're not just moving a bunch of counters around. There's actually a lot more going on. But that is The Longest Day with its brilliant red. And that brings us to War at Sea. Not a lot of naval titles will you find in here. I don't know if I mentioned this or not, but these will all be World War II related. But how do you not like that? And I remember my brother talking to me. when he was at the store one day, and he reminded me that when we were younger, our mother would bribe us into helping her, I don't know, clean the house, which could last anywhere from an hour to 8 hours, and 9 times out of 10, it would happen in the middle of the night because she never slept. But she would bribe us by saying, "If you help me do this or that, I'll get you a toy or a game." And this was the result of one of those bribes from my brother. And I remember him telling me he's at the store looking at this thing, and he didn't know why, but he was just completely sucked in and had to have it. Well, I'll tell you why. Look at it. As a kid, at least, and he was the naval fan. I never was. As a naval fan and a kid, fan of games, war stuff, how do you hold this in your hand, look at it, and put it back on the shelf? No, you got to have it. And it's a great cover as far as the artwork goes. I don't know what more you could want. So that's War at Sea. And then that brings us to an iconic, and I don't use this term lightly, an iconic image, Panzer Blitz, probably one of my favorite all time, hands down, box art covers. It might not make sense based on what I've said already, but it's simplistic. You really only have a couple of colors going on, just the orange at the top. Why is it orange? Who knows? Why was the other games purple? I don't know that either. But the configuration of the three tanks and the sense that they are ready to take off the front of the box and enter into your kitchen or living room, and you hop on board, that is intriguing and motivating. Um, Also, the arrow on the Z, if you'll notice that. Not sure when that started or again why, but you'll see that again and again in the Avalon Hill stuff. Panzer Blitz, iconic, and if you were going to have a only a couple things you could hang on your wall, if you blew this up to subway size, poster size, and hung it on your wall in like a big frame, wow, how awesome would that be, right? Panzer Leader, same style, but and it's still good, but something missing here. You don't feel perhaps directly threatened or involved because I guess the direction of the gun on the tank is pointing away and not in your face. But not bad either. And beauty and simplicity, I mean, if you're going to do simple, you got to do it right. And this is simplicity done right. So hats off to them. Squad leader, notice the arrow again on the top of the S. And as I mentioned earlier, the original squad leader box was purple. This thing, it just it sparks so many memories for me when I look at this. This is will be my all-time favorite game. I'm diehard ASL fan, but I probably would never have played ASL if I hadn't played this. This is where I started. This is what created my fondness and love for all things ASL, and can't say enough good things about it. What's not to like here about the box art, except maybe again the yellowish orange. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but decent box art, and it's intriguing enough to make you want to look inside, to want to learn more about it. And of course, iconic German with the binoculars. I think it'd be interesting to find out who that is. I think this image is a propaganda promotional photo that was taken. I don't think this guy with the binoculars was in a battle where this image was snapped. But it would be interesting to do some research on him and find out just exactly how the photo came about, who he was, etc. At least for me, that might be interesting. Learn a little more about the guy in the image, and also iconic image. So that's squad leader. About halfway through this. That brings us to Russian campaign. Look at all this stuff. A little bit of everything going on here. If you like colors, well, colors to boot: blue, yellow, almost a purple, red. And as I was compiling these images, I had no idea I consciously did this until I looked again at this box. And as it turns out, if you look at the Russians on the bottom right and the Germans on the bottom left, these are the images that I ended up using for Ostfront for the counters. Can you believe that? I think this had some sort of subconscious, it implanted it or embedded itself in my head, and I subconsciously used this in the counters. But when I saw that, I thought, man, both on the same box, same images. That's how it goes. But I'm not going to back down. I'm a big fan of those images, and that's what I'm sticking with. But that's a Russian campaign, and overall, I'm not sure I'm the biggest fan of it, but I like it just because there's not a lot of games like that. Hitler's War. I threw this on here as an example of what not to do ever again, please. Not that I am thrown off by seeing Hitler's face on a game. Don't necessarily have a problem with that. But my God, who would see this in just based on a superficial thing? I guess there's people out there that would look at this and say, I gotta play that thing. And it's probably those, for lack of a better term, armchair general types who have read probably uh, 15 Hitler biographies and Churchill's biography, and and decided I want to know what it's like to feel like them, or I could do it better or differently. From playing a game from this perspective, it does nothing for me. I got to be boots on the ground, in the thick of it. I don't much care to be the guy back in London or back in Berlin trying to figure things out. And I'm sure this game doesn't just deal with that. But my point is, when you look at this, it leaves nothing to be desired. So, for those of you that are going to make a career out of box game art, here's an example of what not to do. Okay, this is not going to make anybody, at least, okay, it might make a couple people want to play the thing. What else? Russian front. Here is another image that, in my opinion, if you blew this thing up to a subway-sized poster, hung it on the wall, again, how cool would that be? This is one of my all-time favorite images. Um, the image is copied, as a lot of them are, come to find out, from actual photos, but at least they didn't just watercolor over it or just colorize it. The guy actually painted it, and I should know his name, and I don't. George Parrish? Did it just come to me? I think that's his name. Correct me if I'm wrong underneath this cast, but I believe it's George Parrish. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. But definitely, again, one of my all-time favorite box art covers, and I don't know, it might be perfect. Yeah, George Parrish Jr. Um, Roger McGowan, you're great, and the things you do are good, but this guy is almost as good, if not better, and I don't think you will be offended in hearing me say that, as you have to admit, the guy's got a knack for doing what he does or did. But that's Russian front, and again, what's not to like with this thing? You got the German moving through Russia. You can feel his, it must still be early in the war. He still looks kind of confident, or what else should I say? Upbeat. This isn't going to last long. We're going to kick butt and we'll be out of here. That type of thing. But yet you sense the machine gun on his back, probably, and I'm reading way too much into this. The machine gun on his back, perhaps foreshadowing a literal sagging and weight being put on the shoulders of the German troops as the war went on. So, again, I'm probably read way too much into that. But as far as this thing goes, one of the best war game covers out there. Flat top, again, looks like you're going to see the movie Flat Top, and that's not a knock. But decent image. I like it. I like what's going on. I like the contrast in perspective with various sizes. The Japanese fighter pilots superimposed over the sky with the carriers, and yeah, I don't have a problem with this at all. other than maybe changing the coloring of the flat top letters to something other than yellow, and the white at the bottom seems like they missed the boat on something. But that's being pretty harsh. I like it. I don't know that would work today. Maybe it would. Before its time, definitely worked. And when you see this, makes you want to know more. Makes you want to rip the top off and have planes come flying out at you and ships start sailing across your living room floor. Um, that's what you want. So that's flat top, which brings us to Raid on Saint Nazaire. George Parrish again. And again, the art on this thing immediately lets you know what you're dealing with. I hope the electric doesn't go out if lights are flashing. Sorry. As soon as you look at this thing, it lets you know that, like I said, what you're dealing with this game. It's a raid, all right. You can tell by looking at it, and you're thrown right into the midst of the action, right into the middle of it. And of course, again, one of those things that makes you want to hop right in and join along, run right along with them, and carry out commando maneuvers. Great game as well, not just the artwork. And if you are aware of Stuka Joe on YouTube, he's done this game much justice with a tribute as far as unboxing and playing of this thing. So Raid on Saint Nazaire and almost like a Star Wars. Be interesting if that was influenced by that Star Wars font with the lettering, letters laid tilted back, perhaps moving upward and away. Great artwork. That brings us to Breakout Normandy. I'm a fan of this as well. I feel like a fly on the tree or a fly on something, watching what's going on, and almost like a farm country, pleasant setting, except for the Germans getting ready to knock the lead tank out, and the anticipation, I suppose, is intriguing. And they didn't skimp on anything here. The sky, back in the day, that sky probably would have been purple or orange, but no, they put sky in the sky, and they've made great strides in the artwork. So hats off, Breakout Normandy. That brings us to Turning Point Stalingrad. I love the artwork, but I have to say, the face on this German, has anybody else noticed this? The guy looks, maybe this is what happens when you've actually fought for any length of time in Stalingrad. You just look lost. And the guy does. He looks completely confused, out of it, lost. I don't know what his deal is. I don't know that you would call it the thousand-yard stare because it seems like he might be looking. I don't know. I don't know that he's just staring off into. I'm at a loss. Anybody else help me here? What is the deal with the guy's face? Why paint him like this? Is this the artist's attempt to again portray like a war weary, just kind of, I don't know, confused look? Well, I guess he hit the nail on the head with the confused. The guy looks completely. He looks like he doesn't even know which war he's in. But anyway, it's very cool. And Solitary Soldier on the cover. You don't see that often. Makes it, again, more mysterious, more ominous, kind of a lonely, on your own feel, which can be scary. Am I reading too much into these things? Anyway, that's what I get out of it. Up front, we're going to stick Hans on the middle there, and everything else that's going on is decent enough. I'm not sure how I feel about Hans being, what is that, his SS yearbook photo, smack dab in the middle, but it works. I like it. And the game, oh man, the game is awesome. So I mean, I guess you could stick a box of Milk Duds on here as the cover, and I'd still like the game. But as far as the artwork that is on here, I have no problem with it. It's awesome, and I guess that's all I have to say about that. Sorry. Beyond Valor. Thus begins a wonderful, fantastic era of ASL art. Can't say enough about it. Beyond Valor harkens that. Um, Gung ho Germans moving through. And what more could you want? Big old tiger tank in the background pointed right at you. Again, looking as if they're going to walk right off the box and take over your house. Um, Beyond Valor, again, one of those games that makes you want to dive right in and get started. Code of Bushido. Look at that. Is that not beautiful? The colors are beautiful. It's like a dusky night setting. The Japanese are in full force there. Um, Whatever's on the right, we don't see, just probably shooting it to hell. Um, that's Code of Bushido. I always liked that cover, and one of my favorites. And again, that is, if you'll notice the GP on the lower left, that is George Parrish. What else? Red Barricades. And look at that. It's almost like a superhero comic book, action hero movie cover. Um, Definitely intense, intimidating. I don't know what else you could do to make this game look any more exciting or fun. I think they've pretty much nailed it. He's breaking right out of the box. I mean, look at the bricks on the right. The other guy behind him, literally, it looks like they're just busting right out of the box. So again, I'm a big fan of that, and um, there could be probably a bingo and Kleenex inside, and they could say so. But with a box art like that, I'd want to buy it and play with the bingo chips and Kleenex. Ambush, somewhat of a comical comic book esque cover, but still fun. And that goes with the style of the game as well, I guess. They don't take themselves entirely too seriously with these things, as well as the expansions. Big fan of this, as well, Battle Hymn as well, which is a Pacific Theater component and a solitaire game. But yeah, and then when you look at this, it just says fun, honestly. So that's that. Hell's Highway. Um, Be interesting to do a head count of how many game titles have the swastika on it. Some of them I noticed they try and make it look beat up so it isn't complete, it's somewhat obscured. Not here. It's flat out swastika, middle of the box, paratrooper landing right on it, and but I like it, and the game's cool as well. France 1944. This reminds me of, I would say, you remember those men's adventure magazines? It's before my time, but you can still look up covers of these. Men's adventure magazines of the 60s, and it's kind of smacks of that. That tank is going full bore, the machine gunner as well as the main gun. Explosion in the background. They're having fun, to say the least, and looks pretty intense. Again, a game that I would, just by seeing this, want to play. And then Sun Low. I'm not familiar with this game at all, but I thought it was not necessarily odd with the single soldier on the cover, but the way he's depicted, I don't know. It's almost like something from the 40s. It doesn't fit. It doesn't work. Maybe that's what they were going for, kind of a retro 40s feel, kind of um, World War II propaganda poster type art. And if I'm not mistaken, maybe this is one of those things. But I don't know. It doesn't do it for me. The guy looks like he should be on a cereal box or something. He just looks like he's enjoying himself way too much. I don't know. Cobra. I like the art of these this and the next one. It's a little tongue in cheek. It's a little somewhat cheapens the events that these games depict, but it's decent. There's action. There's a certain style to it that you love it or hate it. Same with Barbarossa. Ooh, look at that. You got the two SS rooms. I wonder if you did that today, you could get away with that. There'd probably be the ACLU and Whoever whoever knows who else would be after you because you put two SS runes in a game title. But I like the box art and again the German. Look at his face. I'm not going to say. I don't know that I can say what his face makes me think of, but it's something along the lines of either he needs to go to the bathroom. Okay, I'll leave it at that. But the art's cool. Some carnage in the background, and he's got his little camouflage there with some wheat stuck in his helmet. Binoculars, decent. Um, yeah, and the SS runes are interesting. It almost says we're TSR, we don't care, or we don't know any better, and left it at that. Fighting formations, all right off the bat, new era, bam, there it is. Kind of abstract image there of a German soldier. The way that it is presented makes you kind of pick it apart. You're looking at everything to make sure you can take it all in and see what's going on. Roger's choice of colors here, the way he sets them up, bisects them. He's got the what is that turquoise kind of color on the left and the black on the right. It's a very interesting choice, and it's also very distinctive and stylistic. Roger's gotten to the point where I guess he was like this a long time ago, but almost right away his artwork, and it's only over the years become more and more distinctive. So hats off to him for that, and a decent cover. I like it. Combat Commander Europe again, Roger McGowan, and you can tell because of the bisected colors going on. The black at the bottom and the other stuff at the top. I like the silhouettes of the soldiers in the background. The sergeant here, I guess that's a sergeant on the cover, looking at us reminds me of kind of a Sergeant Rock comic book. I wonder if that's what he was inspired by or going for, but it works. It works. Normandy 44, somewhat of a throwback to stock imagery from the war, and you see these tank traps you associate right away with the event at hand. Beach, the tank traps, you know what's up. Enough said. Empire of the Sun. This is the original edition, and how angry and intimidating does the Japanese soldier look with his mouth open here on the cover? The new cover, I don't know what the hell they were thinking, but it sucks. This is 10 times better. I don't know why they even bothered changing it. I guess they felt like they had to, or nobody would buy it because it didn't look different. But this is just fine. I have no problem with this. I dig it. That dude looks angry, and I want to know more about it. So, success there. Red Winter image at the top should look familiar. We've already seen that with SPI. The other two images at the bottom, not so familiar. And it works. It's enough. It seems like they could have done it different, or they could have done it something more. Especially when you see what's inside. Wow, just amazing. The map is beautiful. Um, the artwork inside far surpasses the cover, and that's backwards to me. The cover should at least match the artwork inside, but still decent. And sticking with the blue and the white tones, A plus there. The Dark Valley. This is actually taken from two separate paintings. The one on the top and the one on the bottom are two separate paintings, and they were just mashed together. It works. It's not something you see all the time, but it works, and I don't know what else to say about it. A game that I need to get, that's for sure. Panzer. This should remind you of something. Panzer Blitz. Instead of three tanks, we have two, and I don't know what the hell is that dirt or rust going on. It's interesting nonetheless, and they, definite nod to Panzer Blitz. Come on, with the orange on the top. This was intentional, and I don't have a problem with it. They're hearkening to a day, a style, a kind of game um, that relates to this, and it works. I like Panzer Blitz better. Again, I don't know what all the crap dried paint palette going on at the bottom half of the boxes, but I appreciate the throwback. And if you want to compare that to the original Panzer cover, that's the original. Big difference. I might almost like to. No, I don't know. Original cover's not bad either. Avalanche Press with their Eastern Front. I don't know what the hell they were thinking with the pixelation at the lower right-hand corner. Um, I guess they thought that was edgy and hip and different. It just ruins the image, in my opinion. If they want to do that, I guess there's a different way of doing it. Do it with some half a dozen hexes or something. I don't know what that is. But Avalanche Press, there's them represented in the box art foray. And if you want to see the new Eastern Front cover, well, guess what? They didn't do the pixelated thing, but they did change it completely from armor to armor cavalry. Yes, I don't. I like it, but I don't know that I would do it for that. It's misrepresents almost what the thing is. You know, when you think Eastern Front, you don't think charging cavalry, or maybe you do. But for me, that's misrepresentation. I know it happened, but overall, you tend to associate other things with Eastern Front than cavalry. This harkens back more to like a Napoleonic thing for me. Anyway, that brings us to MMP, and MMP has done some good things, some great things actually, and we'll start with a victory lost, and a bit of a risk in doing this, but I'm glad they took it. It works. I like it, and they ran with this theme. This is a victory lost, a great, great game, and the box art I think is perfect. It fits the game. The style of the art fits the style of the game. Um, yeah, no problem with it at all. Um, that brings us to a victory denied. Again, same theme, almost as good, if not better. That image in the previous one is, of course, famous image of a Russian commander, but less famous image, but the similar design works as well. This time, the hammer and sickle is encased in a gold star. Um, Sticking with the red, it works great. And then the third in the group, Red Star Rising, more red. This time broken up with beams of lighter red sun coming down on a statue, and probably my least favorite of the three, but still very cool and works as well. Threw this in here because it is freaking horrid. Look, that's so awful. Look at this guy, and I own this game because the game is awesome. It's an area movement game for Market Garden. But what the hell is that? Is that a mannequin head? I don't get it. Who purposely drew that and thought, yeah, that's it. That's somebody drew that. And did nobody see that and go, you know what? I'd rather have the cover be blank than have this dude on there. What is it, a doll? What is that? Okay, I need to calm down. I don't know what that is. I don't know who decided that that was worth putting on the. Good Lord. Okay, another example of what not to do. Do not do this. Do not try and draw a mannequin face and think that will pass as a human face. And it's horrible. But the new one, how about this? Ready? This is the new cover. Here you go. Bam. Now, if you were capable of doing that from the start, why would you do a weird mannequin head guy? All right, enough about that. This thing is awesome. Um, wow. Again, what's not to like? It's a lot going on. Very thorough representation of what the game entails. And you got the bridge over at the top in the background, some gliders, paratroopers, some urban troops there to represent the Arnhem fighting. It's great. It's fantastic. Burn those other ones. I just watched a documentary about Atari and their game ET. If any of you remember that, it flopped. The game, they had to do it so fast to release it by Christmas. I think they did it in like 6 months or something, which is crazy. And the game sucked and nobody bought it. And they buried the whole lot of them in a garbage dump and just sealed over it. But there's a documentary about that, and I'm telling you, that's what should be done with the old covers of this Monty's Gamble. Burn them, bury them, do everything you can to. This is where you need to take on a Stalinist stance and eradicate it from history. Just airbrush it out of any picture, delete any images that are on the internet of this thing. Let's all pretend like it never existed. Bastogne, threw this on here, the gamers. And there are some other pretty interesting gamers covers, but time only allows for so much. A lot of titles from the gamers taken straight from some artwork. This was interesting, I thought, because again, beauty and simplicity. I thought it accurately um, represents what you can expect. Perhaps the events leading up to some intense stuff going on at Hitler's last gamble. These guys making their way through the snow. Um, you can almost feel the cold. Decent stuff, works for me. Devil's Cauldron. This game is already a cult classic, heavily sought after by collectors. Um, when you look at the artwork, though, I'm referring specifically to the stuff inside the old photo-looking thing. It seems like they could have done better, but hey, it works. It's decent, and I don't know. The game inside is just phenomenal. I guess that really has nothing to do with the cover, but seems like they could have done. If they ever re-release this in a new edition, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to redo the cover. Um, Not optional. You guys can do a little better, especially for what this game is and the money that I know went into this thing. Seems like they could have done a little better. So that's Devil's Cauldron. Don't get me wrong, no, fantastic game, and if you can someday um, get a hold of this, don't hesitate, grab it up. Guderian's Blitzkrieg 2. I gotta ask somebody, do you think these are real German soldiers? Maybe they're just that well photographed, but I like it. You've got the layers of stuff going on. You got the tank, and then layered over that is, of course, these gentlemen discussing what is the best way to get to Lion's Choice, which is the best roast beef restaurant in St. Louis. We don't have them here in New Orleans, but that's neither here nor there. No, they're discussing something of great importance that goes without saying. And a game that I own and have played, and again, if you are a fan of the Operational Combat series, um, grab it up because it's good stuff. Fire in the Sky, you can't get much more simple than this and succeed, but this does succeed. If this was anything else, it wouldn't. And why does it succeed? Well, in my opinion, because if you look at the smoke trail of the plane coming down, it looks like a brushstroke for like a Japanese calligraphy thing. And as this is the Pacific Theater, I think that was the intention, is to remind you of that culture. And it does so, and it works. I really like it. Whoever did this, hats off to them. And then you got Worthington Games, who decided we're just going to take an old propaganda photo or artwork and use it, and that's fine. It works. It's intense. It's one of the better propaganda images from World War II, and I'm sure if they hadn't used it, somebody would have eventually. So good for them for grabbing that up. That brings us to Conflict of Heroes, and we're winding down here now. Awesome artwork. It's got a bit of a gamey feel to it. It feels like perhaps little miniatures that have come alive. That's fine. Doesn't detract from anything from me. Pretty intense stuff going on here. We're watching a battle as it unfolds, and looks pretty intense. But instead, this time it looks like instead of a lot of games, looks like they're going to pop out of the box. This looks like it's taking you deeper into the box, which is a kind of interesting theme. And then the other Conflict of Heroes cover, same gentleman, and this guy has a website. I forget his name. Lives in Hawaii and does all kinds of artwork, not just military stuff. In fact, his military stuff is an anomaly. He does other stuff more so. But another intense battle going on, and pretty good stuff there. I love the style of the painting. You don't see a lot of this. It smacks of a painting because it is a painting, and it works. Academy Games did good in finding this guy, and it really almost trademarks their games, the artwork. So, what does that leave? That leaves the Hunters, and I threw this on here because a number of things. A, it's a great game. B, it's a throwback. Now, look at the top on the right. What does it say? The same thing that the old SPI games used to say. And in fact, the image, the artwork itself is a throwback to an old game called Wolfpack. Now, a bit different sub, if you will, but same relative idea. And I stayed away from, there's a ton of magazine, strategy and tactics magazines, and against the odds magazines, and God knows what else. You could go on forever, and I typically stayed away from magazine game art, but not because it wasn't worth being put in here, but again, time purposes. But you see a similarity there, and a couple left here. Iron Tide, as I start to lose my voice. I appreciate what they're trying to do, but it doesn't work. It looks juvenile, and I again, I understand what they were trying to do, but they didn't pull it off, and I think there's a fail. That is a fail. And then finally, one of the most interesting wargame box art choices, uh, heavily, very abstract, and a lot going on. Hell's Gate, a very interesting choice. I'm not sure if somebody at Victory Point Games came up with this, or Mr. Saban himself had a say in it, but there's nothing else like it for sure, and that's a good thing. You know right away when you see it that it is something that stands apart from the pack, which can be good or bad. I think in this case it is good, and it's not your. It says to me, at least, I am not your typical run-of-the-mill war game, and I am something else. I'm something new. I'm something different, and looking at it makes me want to know what that is. So good job there, Victory Point Games and Saban. Some interesting stuff going on. So that concludes box art, and geez, I don't know if anybody is still with me. A lot of people I've noticed left early, probably to beat the traffic. I don't blame them. But for those of you that have stuck around and watched and listened, hey, greatly appreciated. That's why I did this for you guys. So hopefully I didn't sound too hoity-toity or pedantic, or you know what I'm trying to say. But something I've wanted to do for a while, and that is at least address some of these uh, box art images, the artwork there, and draw attention to it and comment on it. So that's that, and that's also the end of Hexes and Soldiers episode number 40. For the love of God, hopefully it's not another 5 months before I talk to you guys. If it is, just hang in there. I got a lot going on. I still got a lot of ideas, still got a lot on my plate. I still talk to my brother about doing that um, long lost interview with him and his experiences and opinions when it comes to wargaming. He's got a lot to say on the subject. That will happen. I just don't know when. A Waterloo episode, you know. All things Napoleon is going to happen for me when this next game is finished. I'm going to need a break. I'm going to take a hiatus from World War II and go back to where it all started with those Napoleonic miniatures rules. That's how the whole H&S Games thing started. And I took a left turn and never got back on track. But I'm going to get back on track and see what the Napoleonics Avenue has to offer. And I've said enough. So with that, I'll sign off and say, as usual, thanks for listening and keep gaming.